What advice would you give to the Gen Zs coming into the workforce, right? I mean, is there anything on their part? I mean,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So okay, let's hear that. I like to. I mean, I think that would be a real value to perhaps the recruiting guys.
Yeah.
But just even for the Gen Zs to say that you can't clap unless you have two hands, right? And so
Mhm.
it's not just the boss who has to do everything, right? What can they do?
Yeah. And I think this is one thing when I speak to older generations about this, that there's always this feeling of, but what about them? What are they going to do? And I'm a firm believer that it's not just all about the organizations. It's a two-way street. It's like any relationship in life. Both people have to participate. Um, but I think that for Gen Zers who are coming in, the advice that I give them is that, careers are long.
Yeah.
Because the world that we live in today, where everything is so instant, there's such this idea of, well, I need to be promoted right away. I need to be doing this. I need to be doing that. And it's like, no, no, no. Like it doesn't work like that. And I really get them to see that, right, that the whole 10,000 hours to become a master at something. I mean, that is, if you
They don't
look
buy
at anything, it is
it.
so true, right?
Yeah.
You cannot get away from that it really takes, that they may have this perception of, well, I understand this job. And I'm like, you understand it, but you don't have the deep understanding of it. There's layers and layers and layers that you've gotten to. So managing their expectations around like what it's going to look like, what work's supposed to be. I really urge them to think about, not sort of this idea of following your bliss, but following and focusing on what is meaningful and engaging to you, what would be important to you, and making choices and decisions based on that. And then the other part of it is, I hear this a lot from people where they'll say, I'm so unhappy. I don't know what's going on. I feel lost. And it's like, talk to your manager, talk to somebody. Like a lot of times people are coming to, they're telling me all of these things and I'm like, I can't fix these things for you. I can help you, but you need to go and have conversations with your manager and ask for what you need. Ask for, like, I need more mentorship. I need this. I need that. I'm interested in this. Can we have career conversations? Like, do you have time for that? I also urge them to look around the company and people that you think that you, who are a couple years ahead of you, 5 years ahead of you, that you're like, you really admire and like, buy them a cup of coffee, like talk to them, ask them if they, have time to hear from you. Do that. People assume like mentors are just going to show up. It's like, no, go and meet people, figure out, like, instead of sort of looking at everything from this place of, all right, I'm really unhappy here and I don't like this, maybe I should leave, of really figuring out, like, do I need to shift and change my mindset around work? Like, what do I need to do? What kind of
Yeah.
attitude do I need to have when I show up every day? Am I stonewalling and closing things off and not being, open and fair about these things too? And the other thing is, with bosses and managers, what's so hard is, and I'm sure some manager out there is like pulling their hair out because they're like, I have no time to do anything. I'm supposed to help people find their meaning in life. Are you kidding me? And that's the part that's really hard as a manager, is that, it's so important to hone those people skills and to, to make sure that people are being seen and heard. But I'm like, your manager's human. They've got so much going on. It's not that they don't care. It's just they've got so much happening. And to try to understand that and try to figure out, like, okay, it's hard to get on their calendar. So what are some other ideas? Like, how else do I, build a bond, a relationship with them? Because Gen Z is much more about building those relationships, like those more of those connections and personal relationships, not in the sense of like they want to get up in everyone's business or they want everyone to know their business, but much more of the, hey, what did you do this weekend? How are your kids? What's going on? Like that kind of relationship, that friendlier relationship. So it's on each individual, what I would say, and it's the same thing I say to when I work with couples, which is like, don't worry about what the other person's doing. Don't worry about them. Worry about what you're doing. Focus
Yeah.
on you. What is within your control? What can you do differently? And if both parties, the Gen Zers and the and the bosses, managers, HR, whomever it is, if each person can say, okay, I'm going to worry about me, what's within my control, what I can do, then, magical things will happen. And I've seen it time and again. And the other thing that happens that is really unusual is that, sorry, we have these people in our yard now and it's very distracting. Can you hear that?
I can see the glare in the back. So
Yeah, they're putting giant. Sorry, my neighbor has this huge tree and it runs into our place, and I'm in my shed in the back. And I knew they were coming today. I didn't think they were going to come at like 8:30 in the morning, so I'm sorry.
No worries, go ahead.
I can't even remember my train of thought, but it's so.
We're talking about the connection of Gen Z and the bosses, right?
Yeah, so it's
together, yeah.
Yeah, and what I've seen over the years, whether it's a couple or a boss and their employee, is that if you focus on you and focus on what's within your control, it instantly lowers your anxiety, because anxiety is about control or the lack of control, right? And so we get anxious when things are happening and it's out of our control. It's out of our control. So what's so important about that is when you really focus on what's within your control, that will lower your anxiety. It will help you tremendously. And it really will, over time, what I've seen is that one person, even if one person's doing all the work, it changes the dynamic in the relationship, right? Because suddenly a new kind of person is showing up to work. Suddenly a new kind of manager is showing up. Yeah. And that's what's really powerful.